Nobody told me the jungle had a smell before it killed you. I don't mean the rot, the wet leaves, the mildew, the kind of deep green decay that gets into your lungs and stays there for weeks. I mean something underneath all of that. Something older, like iron, like an old church. Like the air right before a lightning strike, when every hair on your arm stands up and some primitive part of your brain, the part that kept your ancestors alive, whispers, "Run." I smelled it for the first time on the night Rodriguez disappeared. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My name is John Mercer, Corporal, U.S. Army 1st Cavalry Division. I was 22 years old when I shipped out to Vietnam in the spring of 1968, younger than most, dumber than all of them, from a small town in Ohio, where the biggest danger was black ice on Route 40. The Army gave me a rifle, a pair of boots that were already falling apart, and a sergeant named Hayes who had the eyes of a man who had already seen everything worth seeing and hadn't liked any of it. "Keep your head down, Mercer," Hayes told me on my first day in country. "Don't think, don't wander, don't let the jungle talk to you." I laughed. I thought it was a figure of speech. It wasn't. The ambush happened on October 14th, late afternoon, when the light through the canopy had turned orange and thick like syrup. We were moving through a valley I couldn't find on any map. Our lieutenant had been using a compass that, we later found out, had a cracked casing and a magnetized needle that pointed about 40 degrees off true north. We were already lost before the first shot was fired. They hit us from 3 sides. I don't remember much of the firefight itself, just noise, just smoke, just the ground shaking and Hayes screaming at us to move, move, move. And then I was running. We all were, into the trees. Deeper, always deeper, because going back meant running directly into the fire, and going forward was the only direction that didn't have bullets in it. We ran for what felt like an hour. When we stopped, when our legs finally gave out and our lungs refused to cooperate anymore, there were 5 of us. Me, Hayes, a kid from Georgia named Carter who couldn't have been older than 19, a medic named Briggs who hadn't said a single word since the ambush, and Miguel Rodriguez from San Antonio, who had a photo of his daughter taped inside his helmet and who made the best cup of instant coffee I have ever tasted, before or since. 5 men. No radio, Briggs had been carrying it, and somewhere in the chaos it had been left behind or destroyed. No clear idea of where we were. Ammunition for maybe one more serious firefight if we were careful. Hayes pulled out his compass, looked at it, looked at the trees, and put it back in his pocket. "We make camp," he said. "We rest. At first light, we move east and we find a river. Every river in this country flows south. Follow the river south and we find people." It was a good plan. It was a rational plan. The kind of plan that made sense in the world I had grown up in, where problems had solutions and darkness was just the absence of light. That was the last rational plan any of us made in that jungle. We set up a perimeter. No fire. Hayes didn't want to give away our position. We ate cold rations and didn't talk much, each of us sitting with our backs to a tree and our rifles across our knees, listening to the jungle settle into night around us. And the jungle at night is not quiet. That's the first thing you need to understand. There are birds and insects and things moving in the undergrowth, a constant layered noise that is somehow both chaotic and rhythmic, like a song you can almost recognize. You learn to hear it as a kind of bass line, a white noise beneath everything else. You learn to hear when it changes. At some point past midnight, I couldn't see my watch in the dark. The jungle went quiet. Not gradually, not the way a room empties as people drift home. All at once, like someone had flipped a switch. Every bird, every insect, everything in the undergrowth gone. Silence so complete that I could hear my own blood moving through my ears. I looked at Hayes. Even in the dark, I could see him sitting up straighter, rifle off his knees and in his hands now. "You hear that?" Carter whispered. "Shut up," Hayes said, quiet, not unkind, just certain. We sat there for maybe 3 minutes, maybe 5. Time does funny things in the dark when you're scared. Then slowly, the sound came back, insects first, then the birds, then the rustling in the leaves, and Hayes exhaled and said probably nothing, in a tone of voice that meant he didn't believe it. He set watches. Rodriguez took the first one. I slept badly. I dreamed about home, the smell of my mother's kitchen, the creak of the porch steps, and at some point I dreamed about a light moving between the trees. A small orange light like a lantern, drifting slowly through the jungle about 50 yards out, moving parallel to our camp, not approaching, just passing. In my dream, I watched it until it disappeared. When I woke up, it was gray pre-dawn, and Rodriguez was gone. We found his post, the fallen log he had been sitting against, his canteen on the ground beside it. His rifle was still there. That was the part that made my stomach drop, the detail that my brain kept snagging on. His rifle was still there. No soldier leaves his rifle, not voluntarily, not under any circumstances that end well. Hayes found the boot print in the soft mud at the edge of our perimeter. One boot print pointing outward toward the trees, then nothing, no trail, no broken branches, no signs of a struggle. Just the print, and then the jungle, and then silence. We searched for 2 hours. We called his name quietly at first, then louder, abandoning caution for something that felt more urgent. Nothing. The jungle absorbed our voices like they had never been made. Hayes called us back at 8 in the morning. His face was the same as always, closed, unreadable, a face that had learned not to show what was happening behind it. But his hands were very still, which I had learned was a sign that he was working hard to keep them that way. He wandered, Hayes said, fell asleep on watch, walked out there in some kind of stupor. It happens. We mark the direction and we look again on our way out. We all nodded, we all agreed. None of us believed it. We broke camp and moved east, or what Hayes said was east, without the compass working properly. We were navigating by the angle of the morning light through the canopy, which Hayes knew how to read from some training course or maybe just from years of doing this. We walked for 4 hours and found no river. The jungle didn't change. Same trees, same soft rotting floor, same light filtering down in pale shafts that made everything look like the inside of a cathedral that God had abandoned. We made camp again at midday, Hayes's orders. Conserve energy in the heat. And that was when I smelled it for the first time. Iron, old stone, that electric before the lightning smell. I looked around. The others were unpacking rations, adjusting their gear. Nobody else seemed to notice. I stood very still and breathed it in and tried to identify it, tried to find a source. Was it the trees, the soil, the air itself? And then it was gone as suddenly as it had arrived, and the jungle smelled only of rot and green and wet again. I didn't say anything. I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep, the smell of my own fear maybe, filtered through some strange alchemy of the jungle air into something unrecognizable. I ate my rations and didn't say anything. The second night was worse than the first. We had found a small clearing, maybe 30 feet across, which counted as open space in that jungle, and we set up there, tight perimeter, everyone on shortened watch rotation so nobody was alone for more than 45 minutes. Hayes had been very specific about that. Nobody alone. He hadn't explained why. He hadn't needed to. I took the watch from 2 to 3 in the morning. At first it was the same as the previous night, the layered noise of the jungle, the shapes of trees in the dark, the slow passage of time measured in the ache of staying still. I was cold, which surprised me. The jungle at night was supposed to be warm, but there was a chill in the air that I couldn't account for, a dampness that felt less like humidity and more like something had taken the heat out of the air directly, the way you feel it when you open a refrigerator. I was checking my watch too, 4:47 a.m. when I heard it. Crying, a child crying, somewhere in the jungle to my left, small and thin and distant, the kind of sound that carries through quiet air and registers in the oldest part of the human brain, the part that is wired to respond to it before the thinking part can catch up. I was on my feet before I knew I was moving. I stopped myself at the edge of the clearing, grabbed a tree trunk, held on. Don't let the jungle talk to you. I stood there holding onto that tree and listened to the crying. It went on for maybe 2 minutes. Then it stopped, not fading away, not moving off into the distance, but stopping, clean, like a switch. The jungle went quiet again. That total switched off silence. And in the silence, from somewhere much closer, 20 feet away, maybe less, just beyond the line of trees at the edge of our clearing, I heard breathing. Slow and even and patient, the breathing of something that was not in any hurry. The breathing of something that knew it had all the time in the world. I raised my rifle. My hands were shaking so badly I could hear the barrel rattling against the handguard. "Who's there?" I said. My voice came out smaller than I intended. "Nothing." The breathing stopped. The jungle sounds came back. And in their place, in that first rush of noise returning like water filling a space, I thought I heard, very faintly, the sound of footsteps moving away. Not running, walking, unhurried, moving away from our camp deeper into the trees until the distance swallowed the sound entirely. I woke Hayes. I told him what I heard. He listened without interrupting, without the expression on his face changing at all, and when I was done, he was quiet for a long moment. "You sure about the breathing?" he said. "Yes." He nodded slowly. "Go get some sleep, Mercer." "Hayes, go to sleep." I went. I didn't sleep. In the morning, gray light, birds starting up again, Briggs making the rounds with water purification tablets. I was sitting against my tree when I saw her. At the edge of the clearing, right where I had heard the breathing. A girl, young, maybe 17, 18, wearing white, which struck me immediately as wrong, as something that made no sense in this context. White fabric against all that green and brown and gray. She was standing completely still, watching our camp, watching me specifically. I was certain of that, certain in the way you are certain when someone's eyes are on you, that animal certainty that doesn't need confirmation. She was not hiding, she was just standing there. I opened my mouth to call for Hayes, and she raised one hand slowly, not a wave, more like someone making a point, and pointed, off to the right, into the jungle. Then Hayes called my name from behind me, and I turned reflexively, just for a second, just long enough to look over my shoulder, and when I looked back at the tree line, she was gone. Nothing, just trees, just the jungle. Just that smell again, iron and old stone already fading. I stood there for a long time looking at the space where she had been. The grass at the edge of the clearing was undisturbed. No footprints, no broken stems. As if she had never been there at all. Or as if she had been standing there, right there, for a very long time. That evening, as we made camp for the third time with no river found and no sign of the world outside that jungle, Hayes sat down next to me, while Carter took first watch and Briggs slept fitfully a few feet away. He didn't say anything for a while, just sat there. Then he said, "You see something this morning at the tree line?" It wasn't a question. "A girl," I said, "white dress," she was pointing. "Don't follow it," Hayes said, quiet, certain, the same tone he'd used for shut up the night before. "Whatever it shows you, whatever it points at, don't follow it." I looked at him. "You've seen it before." He didn't answer that. "Hayes, you've seen it before." He stood up, brushing dirt from his fatigues. In the fading light, he looked older than his 34 years, older in a way that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with what he'd seen. "Get some sleep, Mercer," he said. "We move at dawn." He walked back to his tree. He sat down with his rifle across his knees. He didn't sleep, I could tell, even from across the clearing by the exact quality of his stillness. He was listening. I lay on my back and stared up at the canopy and listened too, for the crying, for the breathing, for the footsteps walking away in no particular hurry, The jungle talked all night long. I was beginning to understand that I had no choice but to listen.